I've been waiting for this day for 6 months. I cannot wait to get going here. The box is much lighter than it was 2 weeks ago. Or not quite 2 weeks ago, about 10 days ago. This bottom box has got nothing in it pretty much. The bees already ate all the food from that earlier in the winter. And the top box has lost a lot of weight in the past 10 days. So we got beautiful pollen all throughout these frames. Hopefully I got that centered, but awesome stuff. It's got some weight to it, so they've been bringing in some nectar, I think. Yep. Bees have been finding nectar somewhere. I'm hoping these girls have maybe 10 frames of brood. That would be great. More nectar or maybe sugar water from last fall. Eggs all over this frame. Both sides, full. Maybe the queen's over here. The bees are very calm on the frame. I really like that. There's a little bit of drone brood at the top, so that's a good thing. Well, it's a thing. It's important to have drones, but this frame is full of eggs. At least on one side. I'm not sure if I see as many eggs on this side. I don't see a queen though. I don't need to find the queen today. It would be great because then I could take some brood from this hive and give it to weaker hives, because I have ones that are definitely not this strong. So this frame has eggs in it. There's already newly emerged drones, so looks like I'm going to be able to graft a little earlier than normal this year, which no complaints here. It's definitely not a bad thing. More eggs in this box. They aren't like full frames of eggs though. Like this one is full of eggs and larvae. The other ones just had some. And what do you know? Here's my big fat queen. Very easy to spot. Got a nice yellow dot on her. She moves around real slow. I like it. So here's the queen. I will put her in a clip, so if I find the right frame to equalize from this hive, then I will be able to pull some brood out with knowing where she is. So I got my clip here. This one's full of larvae. Nice pearly white and fat, just like you want to see. All the cat brood's probably in the upper box. Beautiful frame, full of pollen, eggs, and larvae. So much pollen in this hive. I doubt the camera will be able to really catch how much pollen these bees actually have. I was worried about this hive going into winter because I think I tested a mite load of 5 during the fall in like mid-September. But either this hive just has high mite resistance, which is possible but relatively unlikely, or they didn't have as bad of a strain of virus, and it was only a 5 mite count, and this hive, it was with a dawn wash, which generally catches more mites from my experience. So this is full of, whoops. Don't do that. This is full of eggs, pollen, and larvae. Not the most beautiful pattern, but I do see emerging brood on here, and there are, so they're probably just hatching. And they're also backfilling it with nectar, so that means there's a good amount of food coming in. So that's 2.5 frames in the top box, and I think 3 frames in the bottom. So one of those frames I may take and go put in a smaller hive. So a pretty good looking colony. Not as massive as I thought, but that's always the case in the spring. I always get overexcited, but it's still a great colony and will make me a lot of queens this year. I'm going to use it to make queens. I will donate this brood, smoke the bees down, and put this hive back together. I might also go into the bottom and steal some more bees, so I don't want to chill this brood when I transfer it into another hive, and so I will get some extra bees to make absolute sure when I move it to the other hive that it doesn't end up getting chilled. That's just a waste of bees and resources, and I wouldn't want to do that.
I went through the hive till I found a frame of capped brood, and then I moved it into a smaller colony and shook in 2 frames that had larvae in them from the big hive. And that would give the small hive enough workforce to keep the new brood warm, which is key.
Let's see how much. So they didn't need a ton of patty. I would say they're probably at 2-ish frames of brood if I had to say just from the top. I like to make guesses. So then if it's too cold to go into the hive a different day, if I'm able to just guess from how many frames of bees I see, then I'll be able to save more time in the future. And this hive, I would say, is a little bit below where I want them to be. So I don't know if I'll have brood. I might have extra brood in the next hive to give. It's possible. And I'll probably end up boosting this hive just because it's a little bit behind. It's not chronically behind. It's not like they'd never build up, but if I want to get everyone to the right size at the right time for me, then it's best that I boost this hive. This hive is really dark too, very dark bees. So this looks like they're preparing for the queen on this side. There's no eggs in here yet, but there probably will be pretty soon. This side's full of brood. I'd say that's a good half frame pretty much. There's some emerging bees on here. I think this will be a prime candidate for maybe 1 good frame of brood. We'll see. This hive has a crazy story. I think there was like 6 different queens in this hive last summer. So if you're interested in hearing about that, go comment down below, and if enough people are interested, I'll make a video about this hive, because it was definitely pretty crazy, and maybe something I don't want to go through ever again. I'm surprised I haven't seen the queen. My queen finding has not been the best today. I don't have to find her, which is good, but it's always nice to. You know, builds up my ego a little bit more. But queens, one thing about queens is they always keep you humble. They never make it easy. Oh, as I say that, here she is. So this frame's full of honey. These guys are not short on honey at all. I don't know if I've actually had any hives that needed honey so far, but this frame is full of eggs on one side, brood on the other, so that's 1 frame of brood. So there's 2.5 frames of brood. So like I was saying, I will put on the top here for a minute, and I think the next hive has some surplus brood. So I will go ahead and grab 1 frame of emerging brood with plenty of bees, and then this hive should be the perfect size to boost. This hive I thought was absolutely massive. Turns out it's only large, not crazy big. I believe they're in both boxes. Maybe I misjudged them, but they ate a lot of patty, so I would tend to believe they're pretty big. It's not a perfect indicator of colony health, but it certainly gives you an idea. All right, so I gave this hive 2 patties the last time I was in here. I'm going to use this hive as a cell builder, probably in late May, so they can be a little bit behind the other hives because they don't need to make splits really or anything. This is my only old queen, I would say. She's in her 3rd season, so she's about 2 years old. Not yet, but getting close. Bees are a little bit more feisty than I want them to be, so hopefully she's still in here. Yep, plenty of eggs. She's got a nice fat white dot on her. So that's 1 frame of brood. Hopefully this hive has about 5 frames of brood. That way I can pull 1 frame out and give it to that colony to get them right on pace. If not, I will boost that other colony in a few weeks. So I need to find the queen, just realized that, to transfer brood. Because I want to take bees with it to make sure the brood's not chilled in the other hive. So tons of pollen, more eggs. Don't see a queen. I think that's like 2.5-ish frames of brood. It's mostly eggs down here. Hopefully there's some capped brood in the top box. So it's a better angle if I bring it up here. This box is very heavy too. Lots of honey. So if I find any light hives, this would be a good one to steal from. So my 2 double deeps last year they had about 1 box of honey, which is generally my rule for how much a hive needs to make it through winter, is 1 deep. Even if they're 2 deeps, if the top deep's full of honey, that's seems to be enough. Wow, so much honey. But even though I could see about 1 deep of honey, they still felt kind of light when I was lifting the back of the hive. So I thought I would be stupid not to feed them and then have them die on me. That'd be super disappointing. So I ended up feeding them a lot. Wow. Beautiful brood pattern. Great brood pattern. This old girl's doing her job just right. So I ended up feeding them, and both of these hives probably have too much honey. It's not crippling, but I might need to be dealt with in some way. All right, here, this frame has capped brood. So that's another 2 frames of brood. So they're at like 4.5-ish. So they hopefully should have 1 spare frame to give. That's what I'm hoping. And part of the reason why I'm doing the equalizing now is because our coldest nights are going to be about 40 degrees. So bees can make it when it's 40 degrees at night, even if they're a little bit undermanned. But if it's getting freezing, then I would worry much more about giving brood away. All right. So looks like I have struck out finding this queen. So what I'm going to do is take one more look back through the hive. Oh, spoke too soon. This queen's got a freaking huge mark on her. It's hard to get her in the shot, hard for me to see, but there she is. Don't laugh at me too much. All right, I got her right here. I'm gonna set her right here. And I'm going to take one of these frames of capped brood. Ideally, it would be emerging. I don't see any emerging brood, unfortunately. So let me look one more time just to be sure. But I don't think there is any for me to take. Capped brood's still good, but it's not nearly as good as emerging brood. All right, this is emerging. So you can see the bees hatching right in there. So I'm gonna take this, put it in the other hive. Make sure you put it in the middle of the other hive's brood so they take care of it. I found the queen. I'm giving them this frame of brood. Then, probably the most important step, other than giving them the actual brood, is I'm going to take this frame that also has brood on it. Ideally, it's a frame with larvae, because those have the most nurse bees don't see much larvae. I'm going to shake those two frames into the other hive. That way, I'm giving the hive more bees to take care of the brood that I just gave them. So now that I've given them that brood, I'm going to find an empty frame, which I saw one empty frame in this hive, and I'm going to give it to this hive. You could checkerboard it into the middle of the nest, but for me, considering the temperatures and all, I don't feel particularly comfortable doing that. So this hive looked massive in February, and not so massive the last time I was here. So we shall see how many frames of brood they have. My smoker went out because I didn't spend enough time lighting it, and if they're feisty enough, then I may end up lighting it. I did give them quite a lot, so could be part of it. This hive, though, from a peek from the top, I would guess they still have excess brood. Maybe a frame or two to give to a future hive. But to do that, I have to be crafty enough to find the queen. And that is never a guarantee. All right, here's some brood. Just a tiny little patch within the pollen. It's beautiful pollen and honey all around. I don't want to leave this out of the hive. I'm just going to take this one other frame real quick and pull it out. Full of nectar. And I will double check the queen isn't on there. I do want to find her because I do want to take brood out of this hive. I don't know if I'm 100% sure, but it seems like a very good chance that I do want to pull brood out of this hive. Bees are even finding nectar in mid-April, so that's pretty cool. I definitely am not sad about that. All right, beautiful frame of brood, capped brood larva, pollen, awesome stuff. Calm hive too, not screaming at my face here, trying to get me. So I always appreciate that. Thank you, girls. They don't always appreciate me like they should, but can't really control that, I suppose. Breeding towards it, but you know, well, I'll get there someday. All right, so that's 2 frames plus like a tiny bit more. So I would certainly guess that this hive has some brood to give, but the queen has eluded me thus far. More eggs, larvae. I don't know if she's marked. She might be, she probably isn't, if I had to guess. But it's probably worth a second look through this hive if I can't find her on the first try, just to make sure I got her, find her so I can pull some brood, because they already have 1, 2, 3 plus a little bit more frames of brood. This would be their 5th, let's hope. Full of eggs. All right, so she could be on here. Decent chance. Where are you? Oh, what do you know? There she is, what a beauty. So, I want to, just to be sure, put her in a clip, queen clip. Of course, as soon as that happens, she went in and squish her. Knew I should have put her in a clip. There she is. All right. This is why you should keep your clip in your pocket or your hand, not your bag. But I still haven't learned 5 years in. She's probably run back in to the hive here. There she is. She's a tricky one. She's running right in between. She's in the clip. This frame's full of eggs. So in these last 3 days, this hive has expanded many, many frames. So there's one, two, three, four, five, six, so about 5 frames of brood, so just perfect. That means I can take 1 frame of brood away from this hive and still have them be on pace to be nice and strong. So I'm looking for 1 frame of emerging brood. This frame I'll shake into the hive. It has plenty of larvae that'll transfer the nurse bees. All right, I prepared the other hive. They've got 1 full frame of brood. So I'm taking this frame of capped brood. It's not completely full, but it's the best I can find. I'm gonna set it right in here. And then, assuming she didn't escape again. And what do you know, she did. All right. Give me a moment here and I will find her. So she's probably over here. I think I'm gonna pull bees from this side of the hive, so I will double check to make sure the queen's not on here and just shake, because it's very unlikely that she came all the way across the box. So I think I'm just gonna take the risk and trust my queen finding abilities, which can be hard to do. I'm going to drop in a frame of capped honey, because this hive could use a little bit more weight, and close them up. Queen should be on that side of the box, and if she's not, then it is what it is, and I will see some queen cells in a few weeks.
The equalizing process can be time consuming and hard at times. But if you want to see what a perfect sized hive looks like for me in mid-April, check this out.